Caiaphas was the high priest in the city of Jerusalem. He and the other chief priests and scribes were looking for Jesus to have him arrested and put to death. But they could not find Jesus. So they called Judas, one of the disciples. They paid Judas 30 pieces of silver to tell them where Jesus was. Judas took the silver, and Jesus was arrested and brought before Caiaphas. Caiaphas asked him, "Are you the Christ?" Jesus said, "I am." And Caiaphas became angry and said, "No, you are not. You should be put to death." Then the entire council took Jesus in front of Pilate. He was the Roman governor. They said, "This man has been leading our people to ruin and telling them not to pay their taxes and claiming he is the Messiah, a king." Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus replied, "Yes, as you say it is." Pilate turned to the priests and said, "I find nothing wrong with this man." But they became desperate and they began shouting. Pilate called together the leading priests and other religious leaders, and he said, "You brought this man to me, accusing him of leading a revolt. I have examined him thoroughly, and I find him innocent." Then a mighty roar came over the crowds. They shouted, "Crucify him, kill him, and release Barabbas to us." Barabbas was a criminal who was in prison for murder. Pilate argued with them because he wanted to release Jesus. But the people shouted, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" For the third time, Pilate demanded, "Why? What crime has he committed?" "I have found no reason to sentence him to death. I will let him go." But the crowd shouted louder and louder for Jesus' deaths. And in the end, they prevailed. So Pilate sentenced Jesus to die as they demanded and released Barabbas, the man in prison for murder. He delivered Jesus over to do what the high priests wished. I wonder how Judas felt after taking all that silver to turn over his good friend Jesus when he found out they would put Jesus to death. I wonder how the high priests felt when Pilate said he could find nothing wrong with what Jesus had done. I wonder how the people felt when they shouted for Jesus to be put to death instead of Barabbas, the murderer. I wonder how the other disciples and people who loved Jesus felt when they heard he would be put to death.